I'm Harper Winslow, 35, and I built everything they said I couldn't. I didn't marry into wealth. I didn't inherit it. I clawed my way through design school, while working nights, leveraged a single boutique project into an empire, and paid for my $7 million Malibu estate in full. Every tile, every chandelier, every ocean-facing square foot. And still, to my family, I'm the shame. You're embarrassing yourself, Harper. A wedding without pedigree is just expensive regret. That was the last thing my mother said to me. She didn't come. Neither did my father. Or my sister. They sent a bottle of champagne with a card that read, "Good luck keeping it." I thought that was spite. Until the envelope arrived. The courier didn't knock. He slid the thick manila folder under the front gate, just after sunrise, like a warning. I opened it barefoot in a silk robe, hair half curled, makeup not yet done. Summons. Civil litigation. Fraud. Money laundering. My name in bold. My estate listed as evidence. A signature I didn't remember writing stared back at me. Dated 48 hours ago. Authorizing the transfer of my Malibu property to Crow Holdings, LLC. I ran. Through the glass doors. Past the infinity pool. Into the prep tent. Jade caught me mid-breath. "What's wrong?" I held up the document. She went pale. Declan walked in behind her, holding 2 champagne flutes. "Everything okay?" I didn't answer, just held up the papers. He read them slowly, blinked, smiled. "That's a mistake. I'll handle it." "Handle it?" I stepped back. "You own Crow Holdings." His expression didn't change. "We can talk after the vows." I laughed. It came out jagged. "No, we talk now, because you just bought my house. With my signature, which I never gave you. Let's not ruin today." Behind us, the catering team wheeled in trays of gold-rimmed canapes. The harpist began warming up. I could see the bluff-top floral arch glowing in soft morning light. Reality blurred. Jade pulled me aside. "Crow Holdings is real. Nevada registered. Shell Corp. But the trail, it's dirty. These filings, Harper, they're tied to a real estate washing flagged last year." My stomach dropped. Declan straightened his tie in the reflection of a champagne cooler. "You said this was our dream home," I whispered. He turned. Calm. Calculated. "And dreams," he said, "require capital." Something twisted inside me. I backed away. "I need to make a call." He blocked the path. "Phone stays with me. Just until after the ceremony." Jade stiffened. "You can't." "She won't need it," Declan cut her off. "The media blackouts for her protection." Media blackout? There hadn't been any press. Had there? I looked around. Guests were arriving. Too many of them. Some I didn't recognize. Faces that didn't belong to my world. A tall man in a gray suit whispered something into his sleeve. Jade caught my glance. "That's not a guest. That's surveillance." "What?" But it was already happening. The projection screens flickered. The drone overhead dipped, spiraled, then flooded with data. My bank records, property deeds, password resets, travel logs, projected across the main ballroom. My face, my estate, my finances, exposed. Someone screamed. Champagne shattered. The harpist stopped playing. I stared at the screen. At my life. Twisted. Distorted. Controlled. Declan didn't move. His eyes on me. Cold. "You knew," I said. He didn't deny it. A vibration in my pocket. A message on Jade's backup phone forwarded. Unknown number. Smile for the cameras. "You're not the bride. You're the bait. Tell me, Declan, why the hell is your name on a company that just bought my house?" The drone camera froze midair. A slow glitch crawled across the feed. Then, data exploded onto the ballroom screens. Bank accounts, internal transfer logs, property chain of ownership charts. All with my name, all forged with precision I didn't know was possible. My Malibu estate linked to shell corporations I'd never heard of. Crow Holdings. The harpist dropped her instrument. A plate shattered near the dessert table. People screamed, but not everyone. A few were calm. Too calm, like they'd seen it before. I turned to Declan, still holding the champagne flute, still smiling. You son of a... Finished the ceremony. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Smile. Say your vows. We clean this later. Clean. Damage control. It's already spinning. The media gets bored fast. You planned this. He tilted his head. Harper, you know I would never. My palm hit his cheek before he finished. The slap echoed. Jade pulled me by the wrist. You need to leave. Now. Where? Anywhere not under his cameras. She led me behind the floral wall. My heels slipped on loose rose petals. I caught a glimpse of someone by the soundboard with an earpiece, speaking into nothing. Cut scene. Kitchen doors. Steel. Cold. We hid between trays of truffle risotto. I was shaking. Jade checked her phone. They're scrubbing everything from your social. But look at this. She showed me a screen grab. My photo under a breaking news cherin. Malibu bride linked to coastal property fraud scheme. What the hell is going on? You were set up. Not just you. The wedding is a smokescreen. For what? Money laundering. Real estate washing. Shell companies. I don't understand. You're the final link, Harper. The signature. The asset. The public face. A quote popped into my head. Something my mother used to mutter when she didn't want to deal with unpleasant news. People only believe the version that's printed. Declan's version had already hit the screens. I pulled out my phone. Locked. Biometrics disabled. Passcode changed. I tried again. Nothing. Jade's hands trembled. We need to call someone. Like who? She hesitated. I knew that look. Say it. I dug into Crow Holdings last night. Just curiosity. Because something felt off. Their filings cross over with a case I covered 2 years ago. What kind of case? FBI flagged them for moving funds through dead LLCs, real estate deals that never close. Properties go through 5 owners in 5 days, then vanish from records. That's not just laundering. No, that's concealment. My throat dried. They were never after me, I whispered. They were after the house. Jade blinked. Why? I don't know. You sure? I looked at the floor, thought about the hidden safe behind the 3rd stair riser, the deeds, the letters, the one file my mother begged me to burn the day I bought the property. I never opened it. Heavy footsteps. Too many. A server burst through the doors. They're looking for the bride. I grabbed Jade. We ran. Cut scene. We pushed through the side exit. The ocean wind hit me like a slap. Salt and rosewater. Drones buzzed overhead. A black SUV idled near the lower gate. Declan stood beside it, waiting. He opened the door. I'll explain. Just get in. No. You'll make it worse. You already did. Another step. Another smile. You said this house was our future, I said. And I meant it. For both of us. You bought it behind my back. I secured it. That's not love. That's theft. Call it what you want. He shrugged. But you said something once, remember? What? To a future we can't escape. His voice dropped. This is that future. I backed away. You're not the man I married. He looked at me one last time, then nodded at the SUV. It sped off. I dropped to my knees. You okay? Jade crouched beside me. No. I stared at the empty road. I don't think this was ever my wedding, Harper. By midnight, my name was trending. Not the good kind. Fraud. Laundering. Bride con. Headlines stacked like body bags. Every outlet used the same photo. Me in silk, frozen mid-smile, the moment before everything burned. Jade drove. I kept my head down. Someone's tailing us, she said. Rear view mirror. Headlights. Too steady. Lose them. She cut across Pacific Coast Highway, dove into a residential grid, killed the lights, rolled the engine. We waited. Breath held. The car passed. Silence hit harder than noise. You ever notice, Jade said quietly, how the truth never screams? It leaks. I nodded. A line from an old mentor surfaced. When the story doesn't add up, follow the paperwork. Paper doesn't lie. People do. We stopped at a 24-hour FedEx office. Fluorescent lights. Burnt coffee smell. I logged into a burner laptop, Jade, slid across the counter. Court docket. Emergency filings. Crow Holdings had recorded a quitclaim deed hours before the ceremony. Nevada LLC. California property. Recorded at the county. Legally clean on the surface. Ugly underneath. Quitclaim. I said, that's for people who trust each other. Or for people who don't want warranties, Jade replied. No guarantees. No disclosures. Fast. My stomach twisted. So if the title's bad, buyer assumes the risk. Guess who the buyer is? I didn't answer. Another push. A mandatory suspicious activity report had been filed with FinCEN. My name attached, triggered by a series of wire transfers that never touched my accounts, but used my credentials. Forgery at a level that required inside access. Inside my life, a notification popped. AMC Bank, account access suspended. I laughed. It sounded hysterical. Escalation, Jade said. They're choking your oxygen. A quote flickered through my head, something I once told a client who wanted shortcuts. Anything built too fast is designed to collapse. Declan had built this fast. Cut scene. We were back at the estate before dawn. Fog crawled over the bluff. The house looked innocent. Clean lines. Glass. Money. Security lights were off. That wasn't right. Jade, check the gate. Power's been cut. By who? She didn't answer. We entered through the service door. The alarm keypad blinked dead. Inside, the air smelled wrong. Chemical. Ozone. Someone had been here. I moved room to room. Drawers open. Safe behind the stair riser. Empty. Harper, Jade called softly. Come see this. The study wall was open. The hidden panel slid aside to reveal the wine cellar's subfloor. Concrete cut clean, like a surgeon's work. A hatch. My heartbeat spiked. I didn't know about this, I said. Your house, Jade replied. You didn't build this? No. We dropped down. 10 feet. Cold concrete. A single bulb flickered. Inside, a metal case. A pistol. A hard drive wrapped in oilcloth. And a photo. A young woman with dark hair and my mother's smile. Standing on this bluff. With the estate behind her, unfinished. Written on the back, Mira. The name hit like a bell. I'd heard it once. Years ago. A whispered argument between my parents. A name followed by we handled it. Who is she? Jade asked. I don't know, I said. But she's why this house matters. Footsteps above. Soft. Controlled. I killed the light. We froze. Voices. 2 men. 1 woman. Media pressure's holding, the woman said. Smooth. Commanding. Keep her moving. She can't settle. Ainsley Rhodes. I recognized the voice from the press conference, replaying on every channel. My mother's fixer. The woman who cleaned scandals with smiles. Declan, a man asked. A pause. Then he served his purpose. My blood ran cold. They moved away. Doors closed. We waited. 30 seconds. 60. Jade whispered, he married you to get this. To get Mira, I said. Another line surfaced. If you want the truth, look for who's afraid of it. My parents. Ainsley. Declan. Pack it, I said. We climbed out, sealed the hatch. Outside, sirens wailed. Close. Cops, Jade said. And not friendly. A helicopter thudded overhead. A spotlight cut the fog. Found us. We ran. Down the bluff path. Rocks slick with dew. Breath tearing my chest. Harper, a voice boomed. Federal agents. Stop. I slipped. Caught myself. The hard drive banged against my ribs. Jade shoved me toward the coastal trail. Go. I'll draw them. No. She was already running the other way. I sprinted into the fog. Phone vibrated. Unknown number. You were never the target. You were the lock. I ducked into the brush, lungs burning, clutching evidence that could bury an empire. And for the first time, I understood the truth. My wedding wasn't the crime scene. My house was. I didn't sleep. Didn't blink. Hid out in an abandoned Airstream trailer parked behind a surfer's mechanic shop in Venice. The kind of place where no one asks names, only hands you a stale coffee and nods once. Jade hadn't called. I told myself she was fine. I didn't believe it. I cracked open the oilcloth-wrapped drive. Old. Password locked. No markings. I tapped the side. Nothing. Then I saw it, etched into the metal in faint scratches. Mira equals P31, R24 M12. Coordinates? No. Sections? A law book. I pulled up California property code. P31. Parcel exemptions. R24. Restricted zoning. M12. Mira wasn't a person. She was an asset. I scrolled back through the scanned photo. Mira, capital letters, stamped on a sign behind the woman, hidden behind her shoulder. The estate wasn't just a house. It was part of an undeclared zone, one that never appeared in city planning. Something buried. I flipped the photo again. My mother's eyes stared back at me through that woman's face. It wasn't just a resemblance. It was her. You don't forget the shape of your mother's smile. She'd been on this land decades ago, before permits, before blueprints, before the cover-up. Sometimes the truth doesn't need to be created, just buried deep enough to rot. That was something she'd told me once. I thought she meant family secrets. I never imagined she meant this. Cut scene. I snuck into a downtown legal records office before sunrise. Mask. Hoodie. Hood low. The clerk yawned. Didn't look up. I ran a reverse record trace. The Bluff's original owner. Transferred in 1982. Private sale. No agents. No witnesses on file. Seller, Mira Capital Holdings. Buyer, Rhodes Family Trust. My family. They bought it, hid it, repackaged it, then gave it to me as a wedding gift through Declan. I wasn't just the bait. I was the heir. A cold spike shot through my spine. What you inherit isn't always wealth. It can be liability, too. Footsteps behind me. A man in a suit. Phone pressed to his ear. Didn't speak. Just paced slow back and forth. I closed the laptop. Walked toward the exit. He followed. I turned a corner. Ran. Down 3 flights. Past water fountains. Through an alley. The city blurred into noise. Horns. Screams. Sirens. I ducked into a liquor store. He didn't follow. But he didn't have to. He already had what he wanted. Back in the trailer, I reviewed the footage from the drive. Hidden folders. Encrypted names. A 1993 clip. Grainy, time-stamped, silent. A man screaming at someone off camera. My father. Younger. Meaner. His voice faint. She wasn't supposed to come back. Another voice. She never left. She's beneath it. Static. Then. A steel door. A medical gurney. Wheels squealing. Fade to black. The file corrupted. But the name lingered. Mira. Not an entity. A person. Still buried. I stared at the hatch drive, hands shaking. They weren't laundering money through real estate. They were hiding a corpse. My family had built a mansion over someone they erased. Not a metaphor. Literal. Physical. Jade's phone pinged. A video. Grainy. Sent by a burner account. Jade blindfolded. Blood at her temple. Bound in the back of a van. Caption. Bring the drive. Alone. Tonight. Coordinates dropped. Location. The very edge of the estate. The cliffside pavilion. The spot where I'd said my vows. Where they buried their past. You think you're the heroine of your own story, until you find out your role was always written in blood. The ocean was black glass. No moon. No mercy. I parked a quarter-mile from the estate and walked the rest barefoot, shoes in my hand. The bluff wind cut through my jacket, cold and sharp, like it knew what waited ahead. Floodlights were off. Cameras, too. Too quiet. I felt watched anyway. Every step toward the pavilion tasted like metal in my mouth. I thought of a line I once told a developer who wanted to bulldoze a historic block. When you erase the past, it doesn't disappear, it waits. Tonight, it was done waiting. The pavilion lights snapped on. White. Blinding. My parents stood there. Not panicked. Not angry. Prepared. My mother first. Elegant, tailored coat, hair perfect. My father beside her. Hands clasped behind his back. Posture military straight. Ainsley Rhodes leaned against a column. Phone in hand, smile thin as a blade. Jade knelt on the stone floor between two men. Blood dried at her hairline. Her eyes met mine. She shook her head once. Don't. I stepped forward anyway. Let her go. My mother sighed. Still so dramatic, Harper. You always were. Where's Declan? Ainsley answered. Disposable assets tend to disappear when they stop being useful. I swallowed. So this is it. I said, you ruined my life, frame me, kidnap my friend, because of a body buried under my house. My father's jaw tightened. Lower your voice. Or what? I laughed. It sounded cracked. You'll disown me again. Silence stretched. My mother spoke softly. Mira wasn't a mistake. She was a problem. Jade flinched. She threatened to expose a zoning manipulation, my father said. One that would have collapsed half the coastline's development trusts. Hundreds of families ruined. Billions lost. So you killed her. She fell, my mother snapped, during an argument. After you locked her in a medical annex under the property. Ainsley's smile faded. I pulled the hard drive from my jacket and held it up. Everything's here, I said. Video. Transfers. Names. If anything happens to Jade, or me, it goes public. Mandatory reporting. Federal level. Ainsley clapped slowly. You always did learn fast. My mother stepped closer. You don't understand what you're holding. I understand enough. You're holding your family's legacy. No, I said. I'm holding your crimes. My father moved then. Faster than I expected. Grabbed my wrist. Squeezed. Blood is a contract, Harper, he hissed. You don't get to walk away from it. Pain flared. I didn't cry out. Another quote surfaced. The moment you stop fearing someone is the moment they lose power over you. I met his eyes. You already lost me. Ainsley nodded to the men. They dragged Jade to her feet. Choice time, Ainsley said. Hand over the drive. We disappear this. Your charges vanish. Your friend walks. You get your life back. And Mira. My mother looked away. I laughed again. Louder. You think I want my old life back. I said, the one where I was the afterthought. The useful idiot. I took a step back. Then another. A helicopter's thrum grew overhead. Lights swept the bluff. My father's face drained of color. Ainsley cursed under her breath. Sirens. Multiple. Fast. Jade's eyes widened. I raised my voice. I filed the report an hour ago. Encrypted. Automatic release. Federal agencies. multiple jurisdictions. My mother stared at me. You wouldn't. I already did. The men let go of Jade and ran. Agents poured in from the tree line. FBI jackets. Weapons drawn. Federal agents. Hands where we can see them. Ainsley bolted. Didn't get far. My father sank to his knees. My mother stood frozen, eyes locked on me, not with hatred, but something worse. Recognition. As cuffs snapped around her wrists, she leaned close and whispered, "You were never meant to survive this." I met her gaze. Steady. Neither was Mira. They led her away. Jade stumbled into my arms. Breathing. Alive. The ocean roared below us, relentless, cleansing nothing. As the helicopter light lifted and the agents secured the scene, my phone buzzed. One last message from an unknown number. Court's not the end. It's the beginning. I looked at my parents being loaded into separate cars, at the estate behind us, at the ground beneath it, and I realized the final truth. I hadn't just married into a war. I was born into one. The sun rose cold over Malibu. Blue light washed the pavilion where agents sealed off the crime scene. Tape flapped in stiff wind. Helicopters thumped overhead. The estate looked like a battlefield beneath the fog. I didn't look back. Not once. I walked forward. Jade beside me, alive, bruised but breathing. A federal agent with a badge I didn't recognize fell into step behind us. "Ms. Winslow," he said, voice low. I met his eyes. "We have a secure room waiting. Your key witness, not a suspect." That should have felt like relief. It didn't. I walked past the flashing lights, the murmuring media tents, the sirens echoing like a heartbeat I couldn't silence. "You know," the agent said, "the press is calling it the Winslow cover-up. Entire estate chain-tied to offshore trusts. Multiple LLCs, federal filings flagged you first." I exhaled. It was still happening. The truth is sharp. It doesn't whisper. I had told Jade that once. I felt the weight of it now. We entered the command tent. Computers hummed. Screens blinked. A wall of feeds showed footage from every angle. Thermal cameras, drone sweeps, helicopter views, local news choppers. They had every piece of me on record. "Start from the beginning," the agent said. I did. Clear. Precise. No emotion. Just facts. I watched the reactions on the screens. My mother's arrest. My father's stunned silence. Ainsley being led away. Furious. Mouth open like she never believed anyone would ever turn the tables on her. "You ever think," Jade whispered, "that people afraid of the light forget how to stand in it?" I didn't answer. I kept talking. Agents typed, filed, recorded. By the time I stopped, dawn had fully broken. Coffee was bitter, served in paper cups. The agent leaned back. "You're free to go, but stay on site. We'll brief you shortly." I stepped outside. The fog was lifting. I saw my parents' cars being driven away in tow. No dignity. No entourage. Just two empty sedans with license plates, smeared by salt spray. They weren't powerful anymore. Just accountable. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I opened it. A single line. It was never about the estate. It was about control. My thumb hovered over delete. But I didn't. Because what I'd learned was this: secrets don't die. They metastasize. I walked toward the bluff's edge, ocean roaring below. Agents and reporters hovered behind barricades, watching. The platform where I once said my vows stood empty. I touched it, cold metal salty. A gust kicked up. I closed my eyes. "You don't choose the battles that choose you." I said it aloud. Then footsteps. I turned. Jade stood there, papers in hand. Fed reports, affidavits, new filings. "Mom's assets are being frozen," she said. "Dad's under investigation for tax evasion tied to those trusts." I nodded. "When this goes public, there's going to be fallout across 5 states. I let it wash over me. Part of me wanted vengeance. Another part just wanted peace. Remember that quote? The one about truth and consequences. She smiled weakly. Yeah, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. I winced. We stood in silence. The ocean whispered. Then he appeared. A man on the cliff path, lean, dark hair tied back, coat pulled low. His presence made every agent turn. I didn't move. He raised his hands, no threat. Just stillness. Declan. Alive. Different. Older. Harder. He stepped closer. The agents hesitated. What are you doing here? I said. I came back, he said, voice low. Why? He didn't answer immediately. Just looked at the ocean, then me. Because truth isn't enough without accountability, he said. I blinked. Then why not turn yourself in with your confession? He shook his head. Not enough. Someone had to make sure the evidence survived. Someone had to ensure Myra's story wasn't buried again. I didn't respond. Agents moved closer. He raised his palms. I'm not a threat, he said. Jade watched. Alert. You orchestrated all of this. I said. The wedding. The transfers. He took a breath. Not all of it. Some of it. The estate was the key because it was the last untainted piece of evidence tied to everything. I stared. This was the twist I didn't see coming. Not the betrayal. Not the manipulation. But the motive. He reached into his coat, pulled out a thin envelope, handed it to me. Read it when you're ready, he said, then walked away. No cuffs. No chase. Just gone. I stared after him. Questions roiling. I opened the envelope. One sheet of paper. 3 lines. You exposed the truth. Now expose the system that hid it. Your name is no longer the disgrace. It's the warning. This estate belongs to the living, not the buried. My breath hitched. I looked toward the ocean. The horizon burned gold with sunrise. I folded the note, tucked it in my pocket. I turned back to the estate. Agents moving in. Reporters gathering. The world watching. And I walked forward, not as a victim, not as a pawn, but as someone who survived the war of secrets. I exhaled. The bluff wind carried the salt and sun. And I knew this was the truth. You can bury the past, but someone has to dig it up, then live long enough to tell the story. I stepped onto the pavilion, the ocean at my back. A new day ahead,